Hey, it's Jimmy from Rebalanced Nutrition Coach. I've got a quick question for you. Do you ever feel shame or guilt after particular nutritional slip-ups? So I'm talking about things like cheat meals or free food meals, whatever you want to call them, whether you've overdone that, or it could be times where you've gone away on holidays and then you've come back into your normal flow of life and you're feeling a little bit guilty about the nutritional behaviours that maybe you put in place when you're on holidays. Well, I'm going to take you through the process that we can typically go through. And it basically starts with some sort of painful moment and it ends with us feeling guilty or shameful or regret with regards to nutritional slip-ups. So I'm going to start with the first component and I'm going to give you some examples so maybe you can relate to this. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you some solutions on how to avoid this, how to minimize the impact, and how to get back on track a little bit quicker as well. Now, the first aspect is pain. So let's take a couple of examples. So maybe you've made a mistake at work, a critical mistake. Maybe something stressful's happened through the day. So there's been some sort of adversity. Maybe it's been an unplanned nutritional slip-up. Maybe you've seen something on social media that's hasn't made you feel good about yourself. Maybe you've had an argument with a friend or a colleague. Now, when these painful moments happen, we'll typically go straight to something to try and avoid that pain, or at least reduce the pain. Now, when the second part of this process occurs, that's when we've got a decision to make. And quite often, the easiest decision is to go for some type of addictive agent to avoid the pain. And that could be things like food, alcohol, sex, a particular relationship. So maybe you've got someone that you can confide in or talk to and unleash and complain and get the stuff off your chest. Maybe it's work. Maybe you bury your head deeper in work to try and avoid the pain of that initial slip up or mistake or something that's made you feel the way you felt. Now, after having that particular addictive agent, we get like a temporary anesthesia and we get temporary distractions. So we're actually able temporarily to feel like we've handled that situation or we've made ourselves feel better. But the only problem with that is it's temporary. Next comes the consequences. So it could be a food hangover or an alcohol hangover. These are the types of consequences. You know, we could be feeling sluggish or our energy's drained, or it could impact our sleep if we're going down the lines of potentially overeating or using alcohol or something like that to manage the pain component. And then we get to that feeling of shame and guilt. And that's where, it becomes really painful. It can lead to self-esteem issues and it can lead to us really ruminating on that particular event. And that's where it can kind of last a while. And we might not be able to pull ourselves out of that hole and get back onto clean eating and exercising, behaviors. So that particular process there is a very common one, and I want to use the example of food in this instance. So, if you've had a stressful day or something's happened, and you're using food to try and combat that, to get that feeling of temporary anesthesia or distraction, you'd probably agree with me if you've been there, and I've been there, and I go there sometimes. So you're not alone. We're all in this, but it's always about what you're doing about it and what you may be learning to try and fill your toolbox up to be better at this next time round. And those consequences and then that feeling of shame and guilt. Now, some quick solutions to kind of avoid that, moving through that process, I guess, is to try and deliberately stop yourself. Once something's happened, that stressful moment or that mistake or that argument, is try and think rationally about it. And, that could be confiding in like a nutrition coach or a health coach or your parents or a friend. Someone like that where you can rationalize and give yourself just a moment to not react with those addictive agents, if that makes sense. And then from there, it's all about maybe growing your toolbox and your knowledge base. Like, what can you learn to be better next time when this particular occurrence happens? And then you can do things like try and deliberately think like a growth mindsetter. So, maybe it's viewing this process as like, what? I've got to go through it and I've got to try and learn from my mistakes. And I've got to try and see next time maybe what I can do differently to try and ensure that I'm minimizing the impact of this and I'm not spending too much time in that kind of temporary anesthesia into consequences, into that feeling of guilt and shame. And the next thing would be plan some action. Plan some action. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a wham bam positive action step, but something that's neutral or even a little bit positive and just something that's not going to overwhelm you, to try and get yourself, back out of that process and back into your normal behaviors. And then distractions. So meditate or go for a walk, get busy, do things like that so that you're not necessarily going to those addictive agents and then going through the rest of that process. If you do, however, go through the process and you find yourself going through it all and you are using food or alcohol to temporarily, avoid or distract you from the pain, then, I think that to get yourself back on track, there does need to be a small element of deliberate action taking. So, and like I said before, keep it neutral, even if it's slightly positive, it doesn't have to be that bang for buck perfect action step. Just do something that's going to help you on the path to getting back into clean eating or clean living behavior patterns. Maybe look at what's happened more as an opportunity rather than a flaw. So rather than, you feeling like it's your fault and you're to blame and it's, because you don't quite have the ability to stay out of these particular processes or get out of them, just look at it as an opportunity. All it's saying is, hey, maybe there's some things I can go and learn. Maybe there's a book or an audio book that I can pick up and read that's going to give me some extra tools and strategies to get myself out of these processes and get back into healthier living behaviors. If that's your goal. Obviously, most people are looking to at least maintain their health or get healthier where they can. So these sorts of things are going to take a little bit of deliberate practice and deliberate learning and self-development. If you've got a coach or someone that you can call to get some guidance and someone that's not going to be too critical of you and someone who's not sort of measuring you, in like a perfectionist style manner. We want someone who's going to encourage you to take some action, to get back on track, maybe learn from whatever mistake it was that you made, try and rationalize it, take some action. There's a couple of tips there that can, either help avoid the process or get you out of the process and back into clean eating behaviors. The last one I want to touch on, which is a really, really cool little trick actually, and it's something I learned a while back and I've implemented in my life and I've tried it out, and I'm not always perfect at this either, so I'm always trying to be better at this, but it's replacing the word should with could, or the words should have with could have. So, if you're thinking about, you've come Monday, maybe you've had a weekend of excessive nutritional slip-ups based on your goals, and you get to Monday and you're starting to blame yourself, you're starting to feel guilty. And all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done that better, I should do this. What that does is it kind of puts like a negative connotation on the situation, and it almost suggests that you're to blame and that it's your fault that this has happened. Now, if you swing that around and use could have or could instead, so I could have done that, I could have been better with that, I could have implemented that, that's putting more of a positive spin on it, and it's allowing you to think in an opportunity type mindset where you can go, you know what, next time I might try that instead, I might try this instead. And then you can slowly but surely try and eradicate the behaviors that are not working for you and try and get on top of these particular things. Because obviously the feeling of guilt and shame, is not a good one, and we shouldn't really be, getting ourselves bogged down and feeling that way. But, understand it's part of life, and some people are dealing with that. If you've got, any issues with feeling shameful or guilty, please reach out and ask for help, whether that's going to your GP to get a referral onto someone else who can talk with you in more depth. I'm coming from a very generalized approach here where we're just looking at healthy food and healthy behavior choices to try and just encourage you to take some action, to get into a better frame of mind, to look after your health. But like I said, if there's anything that you feel like's holding you back, please reach out and please talk about it. Even if you come to me, I can refer you on to a specialist if that's what you need as well. But I just wanted to create some insights, get you thinking, and hopefully take some positive action to help make you feel better and try and limit or avoid that feeling of guilt and shame after particular free food nutritional slip-ups. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. Please leave me any feedback you like. I love doing this stuff. I love bringing insights and tips. This is the sort of stuff I do with my members all the time on a weekly basis. When we do our members catch-ups over the phone, it's all about trying to find solutions and strategies and things that are going to work individually for everyone. So I hope that was really insightful. Thanks for watching. Jimmy from Rebalance Coach. Please touch base anytime you like.